In this special video, I'm going to reveal to you the 7 things that some people ask of you, but which you must learn to refuse if you really want to be respected and preserve your inner peace. The last revelation will surprise you, but before we begin, I want you to pay close attention to this story because it will be very important for you to understand the great lesson of this video. In a remote mountain village, where the wind seemed to carry the voices of the past, there lived a wise old man known for his serenity. Everyone sought him out, from the humblest to the most powerful, but only a few truly understood the lesson he taught. One day, a young man named Dorian came to him seeking advice. Impatient for answers, he approached the sage and asked, "Master Eolios, you have always been respected by everyone, and I often see you surrounded by people asking things of you. How do you manage to stay calm and maintain self-respect, even when so many demand more than you can give?" Eolios, gazing at the river flowing slowly before them, replied in a tranquil voice, "Dorian, imagine your life is like this river. If you allow everyone to throw stones into it, the water will become murky and its course will be blocked. But if you learn to refuse the stones that others try to place in your path, the river will flow freely, clear and at peace." Dorian, thoughtful, responded, "So should I reject people who ask things of me?" Eolios smiled and said, "It is not about rejecting people, but about learning to say no when what they ask disturbs your being and blocks your peace. You must not let the demands of others divert the course of your life. Respect begins with knowing your own limits." The young man listened in silence, understanding the deep truth in the sage's words. The master continued, "True wisdom lies in knowing when to yield and when to set boundaries. If you constantly allow others to ask more of you than you can give, soon you will find yourself exhausted, lost, and stripped of what matters most, your own peace and self-respect." With newfound understanding, Dorian thanked the sage and, with his eyes set on the horizon, walked away, knowing that inner peace can only be cultivated when we learn to say no to what destabilizes us. And so, as Eolios taught us, peace and respect begin when we learn to set boundaries. Now in this video, I will reveal to you the 7 things that some people ask of you, but that you must learn to refuse if you truly want to be respected and preserve your inner peace. Stay until the end, because the last revelation will surprise you and completely change the way you see relationships and respect. Before diving into the first point, if you find value in these videos, please subscribe and activate the notification bell to stay updated. Let's begin. The first thing you must learn to reject if you truly want to be respected and preserve your inner peace is when people ask you to change your essence. Have you ever heard someone say, "If you really loved me, you would change that about yourself"? That seemingly innocent phrase hides one of the most subtle attacks on your identity. And the worst part? It's often wrapped in emotional gift paper, making it seem like an act of love to ask you to stop being who you really are. Imagine someone asking you to change your accent because it sounds unprofessional, or to abandon your passion for photography because it's a waste of time. These are not simple adjustments. They are attempts to rewrite your personal code. As Seneca said 2 millennia ago, he who wishes another to be different from what he is, wishes for his destruction. And it's not just ancient philosophy, modern science confirms it. A fascinating study from the University of Michigan revealed something alarming. People who constantly modify their behavior to please others are 64% more likely to develop symptoms of depression and anxiety. Just think about that. Your brain literally rebels when you try to be someone you're not. It's like trying to make a cat bark. You could train it for years, but deep down it will still be a frustrated cat that has forgotten how to meow. And you're not a circus animal, right? Though I must admit I sometimes act like one when there's pizza involved. But hey, that's just my true gluttonous essence. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, whose last name I won't attempt to pronounce again, discovered something revealing. We experience the greatest satisfaction when we act in alignment with our internal values, not when we become diluted versions of ourselves just to fit into someone else's mold. It's as if our body has an authenticity detector that sounds the alarm every time we betray our true nature. Think about it this way. If you change fundamental aspects of your personality, just to please someone. Does that person truly love you? Or are they in love with an idealized projection they've created in their mind? It's like falling in love with an Instagram filter instead of the real person. This reminds me of Maria, a viewer who once wrote to me. Her partner constantly asked her to tone it down at social gatherings. After years of trying to be more reserved, she developed paralyzing social anxiety. The irony? When she finally decided to be herself again, energetic, expressive, and passionate, not only did she regain her confidence, but she also attracted people who genuinely appreciated her for who she was. The solution is simple, though not always easy. When someone asks you to change something essential about yourself, respond firmly. I value our relationship, but I cannot fundamentally change who I am. This response perfectly reflects Seneca's wisdom when he said, "He who is true to himself will never be a traitor to others." Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's an act of radical honesty. It's telling the world, this is my truth. Take it or leave it. And surprisingly, when you learn to stand up for your essence, you attract people who appreciate you precisely for what others wanted you to change. And remember, there's a crucial difference between personal growth and changing your essence. Growing means refining your best qualities, while changing your essence is like ripping out the roots and expecting the tree to bloom. The next time someone tries to prune you, gently remind them that your so-called quirks are not flaws. They are precisely what make you you. Number 2, while you learn to stand up for who you are, there is another resource that many will try to take from you without you even noticing: your time. As Seneca said, it is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it. And most of it is lost by giving in to the urgencies of others, urgencies that rarely respect our priorities. Did you know that every interruption costs you approximately 23 minutes to fully regain your concentration? Imagine this. You reply to that urgent message that could have waited, and without realizing it, you've lost nearly half an hour of your day. Now multiply that by the dozens of interruptions each week, and you'll see how your life evaporates into matters that aren't even yours. A revealing analysis from Harvard University found that people who don't set boundaries with their time are 37% less likely to achieve their personal and professional goals. This isn't a coincidence, it's vital mathematics. Every hasty yes is a no to your own ambitions. Psychologist William James brilliantly described this phenomenon as the tyranny of other people's urgency. Sound familiar? It's that feeling of constantly putting out fires that others started while your own projects turn to ashes. It's as if everyone had unlimited access to your calendar, except you. I always find it amusing when someone asks, "Do you have 5 minutes?" Because we both know it's never 5 minutes. It's 20, 30, or even an entire hour that you'll never get back. And the funniest part? The same people who don't respect your time are often the ones who guard theirs the most. Coincidence? I don't think so. Modern philosopher Byung-Chul Han speaks about the society of exhaustion, where constantly responding to external demands steals something even more valuable than time: our ability to contemplate and create. We're so busy reacting that we've forgotten how to think. Our attention has become the most valuable currency, and we're giving it away for free. Think of your time as your life currency. Every minute is like $1 that will never return to your pocket. Now ask yourself, are you investing it wisely, or are you financing other people's projects while your own existential bank goes bankrupt? The most concerning part. No one will protect your time if you don't do it first. It's like leaving your front door open and being surprised when your belongings disappear. The difference is that time thieves operate with your consent, and often with a smile. I've met executives who schedule fake meetings in their calendars just to have time to think. Imagine that, having to trick your own environment just to do your job. It's like hiding in the bathroom just to read a book. The situation has become absurd. The next time someone demands your time without considering your priorities, remember that protecting it isn't selfish, it's responsible. Learn to say, I value our relationship, but I need to reserve time for my priorities. You'd be surprised how one simple sentence can completely shift the dynamic. And if someone gets offended because you prioritize your goals, ask yourself, Does this person truly respect my path, or do they just see me as a resource for their own needs? The answer to that question will reveal more about that relationship than any long conversation ever could. Number 3. When they expect you to settle for less than you deserve. The same people who don't respect your time usually won't respect your ambitions either. Imagine your life as a thermostat. Every time you allow someone to lower the temperature below what you truly need, you're not just cooling down your present, you're setting your entire future to settle for less than you deserve. Have you ever lowered your standards or dreams just because someone close to you said, "You should be more realistic"? That seemingly harmless phrase is actually one of the most subtle forms of manipulation. While you convince yourself that you're being practical, you might actually be abandoning your real potential. The growth mindset studied by Carol Dweck reveals something fascinating. Your potential isn't limited by your current abilities, but by what you believe you deserve. Her research shows that those who maintain high expectations develop exceptional resilience when facing obstacles. It's no coincidence that the most successful people are precisely the ones who refuse to settle for what was reasonable. Here's a revealing fact. According to a Stanford University longitudinal study, individuals who set high expectations for themselves are 76% more likely to achieve significant success, even after experiencing early failures. Now think, how many extraordinary opportunities have you let slip away just because you accepted other people's imposed limits? When someone tries to convince you to settle for less, ask yourself, has this person achieved what I aspire to accomplish? Ironically, the ones who insist the most that you be realistic are often the ones who never dared to pursue their own dreams. That's no coincidence. As a mentor once told me, advice often reveals more about the limits of the person giving it than about your actual possibilities. Now let's clarify something important. Gratitude and resignation are two entirely different forces. Gratitude inspires you to value what you have while building something greater. Resignation paralyzes you with the false belief that wanting more means being ungrateful. Philosopher Alain de Botton put it best when he said, "Premature conformity is the silent enemy of a life well lived." Think about it this way. Would you tell a young tree to stop growing because it's already tall enough? Growth is not greed. It's our essential nature. Every time you accept less than what you know you deserve, you're writing a limited script for your future. The psychological tension we experience often comes from realizing that many of our decisions don't reflect our true desires, but rather the limits others have projected onto us. It's like living with an echo of external voices constantly dictating how far we can go. Now pay attention to how truly accomplished people behave. They rarely discourage others from chasing big dreams. In fact, having experienced the power of healthy ambition, they tend to motivate and uplift those around them. So next time you share an ambitious dream, observe carefully. Who encourages you? Who tries to hold you back? That alone will reveal who truly belongs in your inner circle. It's crucial to recognize that many people will advise you based on their own fears and insecurities. If you dream of starting a business, why take advice from someone who has never built one? If you want to transform your life, why listen to someone who has settled into their comfort zone? Don't mistake well-meaning words for wise advice. Family and friends may sincerely wish you well, but when they tell you to not take too many risks, they're often reflecting their own limitations, not yours. Someone who has already reached where you aspire to be will never discourage you. Instead, they will likely give you strategies to help you get there even faster. So, the next time someone tries to convince you to settle, respond kindly but firmly. I am grateful for what I have, but I also recognize that I can and deserve to strive for more. This simple statement sets a healthy boundary while honoring both your gratitude and your ambitions. Before moving on to number 4, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and make sure to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. And if you love this type of content as much as I do, comment, "I love these videos." Also, let me know in the comments what topics you'd like to see next. I read all your messages. Let's keep learning and improving our lives together. Number 4. When they expect you to tolerate disrespect. Disguised as jokes. Microaggressions disguised as jokes are like drops of water on stone. One alone may not cause harm, but their accumulative effect can completely erode even the strongest foundation of self-esteem. How many times have you heard the classic, "It was just a joke, don't be so sensitive"? This seemingly harmless phrase is actually one of the most subtle and effective manipulation tactics. What appears to be light-hearted humor is often just a backdoor for disrespect. According to psychologist Derald Wing Su, these small aggressions are actually subtle insults that can be deeply damaging, even when they come wrapped in laughter. The problem isn't humor itself. The problem arises when so-called jokes are built on humiliating or invalidating others. Your dignity is not up for negotiation. As Cleanthes, a direct disciple of Zeno of Citium, taught, dignity is non-negotiable. This Stoic perspective reminds us that allowing others to use humor as a vehicle to undermine our worth doesn't just hurt our self-esteem, it also makes us unintentional accomplices in our own emotional mistreatment. What's fascinating is that our body seems to understand this truth even better than our rationalizing mind. A Columbia University study revealed that when we're consistently exposed to what some call sharp humor, our cortisol levels, the stress hormone, spike in a way similar to direct harassment. In other words, even if our mind tries to convince us that it's just a joke, our body experiences it as a real stressor. Dr. Brené Brown, renowned for her research on human vulnerability, puts it plainly. Humor at the expense of others is not humor, it's humiliation. This distinction is not just semantics. It has deep implications for our mental and emotional well-being. True humor connects, liberates, and uplifts, whereas false humor degrades, isolates, and diminishes. Even Aristotle, over 2,000 years ago, identified this difference by distinguishing between eutrapelia, a type of humor that strengthens bonds and brings people together, and bomolochia, a humor that divides and causes harm while hiding behind the mask of comedy. Which type of humor dominates your daily interactions? Think of it like an invisible erosion system. One single drop of water can't break a stone, but millions of drops falling consistently on the same spot will eventually create a crack. Similarly, one harmless joke may seem insignificant, but the accumulative effect of these small humiliations gradually creates fractures in our confidence and self-worth. Every time we let these jokes slide without consequences, we send a silent but powerful message. This is the treatment I accept. Over time, this becomes the baseline rather than the limit of how others treat us. What starts as small, normalized jabs can evolve into a larger pattern of disrespect in our relationships. So how do you set boundaries without being seen as too sensitive? The key lies in calm assertiveness. A simple yet powerful response is, "I don't find that joke funny, and I'd prefer if you didn't make similar comments." You don't need to justify yourself or explain why it bothers you. Your dignity does not require argument. If the person continues to disrespect your boundaries, the best response is to simply distance yourself. People who can't respect you don't deserve your time or energy. Self-respect begins with the ability to walk away from those who don't value it. By setting clear boundaries, you're not only protecting your current well-being, you're safeguarding your mental peace for the future. And as an unexpected bonus, when you stand up for yourself, you also set an example for others on what genuine respect looks like in relationships. This is especially valuable in a culture that often confuses sarcasm with intelligence and cruelty with honesty. The Stoic philosopher Seneca reminds us that self-respect is the fortress of the wise. This fortress isn't about building impenetrable walls, it's about establishing clear and healthy boundaries that allow for relationships based on mutual respect. Number 5. When you're asked to follow a path just because that's how it's always been done. This seemingly harmless phrase hides one of the most powerful barriers to our personal development. Have you ever felt that invisible pressure pushing you to follow traditions, careers, or life decisions simply because your family or society considers it normal? This silent tyranny of "that's how it's always been done" has silenced more dreams than any direct criticism. While disguised jokes attack our self-esteem, This mentality hijacks our entire future. Anthropologist Margaret Mead expressed it with astonishing clarity. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Imagine if Thomas Edison had accepted that candles were the only way to light the world, or if Steve Jobs had believed that computers were only useful for businesses and scientists. The problem with "that's how it's always been done" is that it blocks innovation and personal growth. Psychologist Adam Grant, an expert in originality, found in his research that the most successful and innovative people are precisely those who question established practices. His book Originals documents how nonconformists who challenge the status quo are the ones who truly drive human progress. And do you know what's most ironic? Absolutely everything we consider tradition or normal today was once a radical innovation that someone dared to propose in the face of the resistance of their time. From women's suffrage to the 5-day work week to democracy itself, everything was considered an impossible madness until it wasn't. Harvard psychologist Ellen Langer has spent decades studying what she calls mindlessness, or mental autopilot. Her experiments show that following routines and traditions without questioning them not only limits our creativity, but literally accelerates our cognitive aging. In contrast, actively questioning conventions keeps the brain agile and strengthens our adaptability. And here's the interesting part. A study from Cornell University analyzed over 3,000 people who had made significant decisions in their lives, such as changing careers or moving to another country against the advice of "that's not how it's done." 89% reported that, although they faced initial difficulties, they experienced greater life satisfaction than those who followed conventional paths due to social pressure. Remember this, the people who tell you "that's how it's always been done" are usually not protecting a great truth. They are protecting their comfort zone. As Einstein said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I would add, the greatest insanity is doing what everyone else does simply because no one has dared to try something different. Existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre left us with a powerful idea. We are condemned to be free, meaning that we cannot escape our responsibility to choose our own path. Every time we accept "that's how it's always been done," we're not avoiding a decision. We're actively choosing to give up our freedom. When someone tries to impose a path on you based solely on tradition, ask yourself, who wrote those rules? In what context did they emerge? Are they still valid today? And above all, do they lead me to the life I truly desire? Learn to respond firmly, "I respect tradition, but my path may be different." You are not obligated to follow a map drawn by others. As poet Robert Frost reminds us, "I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." Number 6. Have you ever found yourself constantly postponing your own needs to attend to someone else's? I'm not talking about occasional acts of generosity, but rather a consistent pattern where your priorities always take a back seat. This is the 6th warning sign, when someone expects you to systematically put their needs before your own. Psychotherapist Adam Grant, author of Give and Take, distinguishes between 3 types of people: givers, takers, and matchers. His research reveals something fascinating. Extreme givers, those who always prioritize others, tend to occupy both the highest and the lowest positions in terms of success and well-being. The crucial difference lies in whether or not they set boundaries. Unlimited self-sacrifice is not a virtue, it is self-destruction disguised as kindness, wrote contemporary philosopher Ayn Rand. And while her philosophy may be controversial, she was right in this regard. We cannot sustainably give what we do not renew. Think of it this way. On an airplane, safety instructions always tell you to put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. Why? Because if you faint from lack of oxygen, you won't be able to help anyone. The same applies in everyday life. Psychologist Amaya Fernandez Martos talks about burnout caregiver syndrome, where a person who constantly prioritizes others ends up experiencing emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and a reduced sense of personal achievement. This syndrome not only affects professional caregivers, but anyone who habitually postpones their needs. A study conducted by the Complutense University of Madrid found that people who regularly prioritize others' needs over their own have a 42% higher risk of developing cardiovascular problems. Your heart literally suffers when you ignore your own needs. Writer Paulo Coelho summed it up beautifully. When you say yes to others, make sure you're not saying no to yourself. This phrase captures the essence of the necessary balance. How can you tell if you're falling into this trap? Pay attention to these signs. You feel constantly exhausted and have no time for your own goals. You experience hidden resentment toward those you help. It's almost impossible to say no, even when you want to. You feel guilty when you spend time on your own needs. Others automatically assume you'll be available for them. The Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus taught his disciples, "It is not possible to live well today if you are constantly sacrificing your well-being for others." This teaching, over 2,000 years old, remains surprisingly relevant. A fascinating case is that of Teresa, a teacher from Barcelona, who for years postponed her dream of writing a novel to help everyone around her. Her sister with mental health issues, her elderly parents, her struggling students. Until one day, her doctor diagnosed her with chronic fatigue. "I realized I had emptied my inner well so much that there was no water left for me," Teresa says. The solution isn't to become selfish, but to adopt what psychologists call strategic altruism, helping in a way that is sustainable for you. As Marcus Aurelius would say, if you are disturbed by something external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your own estimation of it, and you have the power to revoke this at any time. Number 7. Existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre called bad faith, that self-deception where we deny our greatness to satisfy others' expectations. Imagine a tree that intentionally stops growing out of fear of casting a shadow on the bushes around it. Absurd in nature, but tragically common in human relationships. Are you allowing someone to prune the branches that should be reaching for the sun? And here we come to the final sign, perhaps the most subtle but equally destructive, when you're asked to hide or minimize your achievements to avoid making others uncomfortable. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and creator of logotherapy, discovered something fundamental during his years of suffering. Finding meaning is essential to our psychological survival. In his work Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl argues that when we shut down our passions and hide our accomplishments to please others, we not only forfeit our momentary happiness but our life's purpose as well. Have you ever downplayed a promotion in front of a friend who's been looking for work? Or perhaps avoided mentioning an important personal achievement out of fear that someone close to you would feel inadequate? You're not alone. This dynamic is so common that it has a name in psychology, the deviation syndrome, as Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, a pioneer in positive psychology, calls it. This syndrome occurs when we follow a path dictated by the expectations and comfort of others. Every step we take in this direction moves us exponentially further from our authentic happiness. It's like driving with a broken GPS. Every mile in the wrong direction takes much more effort to get back on track. What's fascinating is that longitudinal studies conducted by Harvard over 2 decades show that people who pursue their genuine passions and express them openly have 64% more life satisfaction and 37% fewer stress-related health problems. Do you see? Hiding your achievements doesn't just steal your joy, it literally makes you sick. Let me share something that might feel familiar. Carlos, a brilliant engineer, developed an innovative system that revolutionized processes in his company. When he received an award for his creativity, his lifelong friends reacted with comments like, "Wow, now you think you're superior," or "Don't brag so much, luck plays a big part." Carlos started downplaying his accomplishments in social settings until eventually he stopped pursuing ambitious projects out of fear of standing out. The result? Depression, anxiety, and a deep sense of betrayal toward himself. Carlos had sacrificed his purpose on the altar of others' comfort. The root of this problem is deeply existential. When someone feels threatened by your success, they're not responding to what you're doing. They're reacting to what your growth says about their own decisions. Your willingness to shine illuminates the shadows where they've hidden their own abandoned dreams. As Sartre would say, we fall into bad faith when we deny our fundamental freedom to choose our path, convinced that we must follow what others expect of us. This self-betrayal leads to a life of quiet dissatisfaction and regret. Think of it like this: a tree forced to grow away from the light will eventually wither, just as our aspirations do if we ignore them. Nature doesn't apologize for seeking what it needs to flourish. Why should you? The solution is not to become arrogant and constantly boast. True humility doesn't lie in denying your talents, but in recognizing them with gratitude and using them to contribute positively. As Marianne Williamson famously wrote, often misattributed to Nelson Mandela, "It is not our darkness but our light that most frightens us." The practical resolution starts with a simple phrase: "I respect your opinion, but this is my path and I need to follow it." This statement sets healthy boundaries without antagonizing. It also helps to surround yourself with people who genuinely celebrate your successes rather than feeling threatened by them. Those who ask you to dim your light aren't necessarily ill-intentioned. Often, they act out of their own fear and insecurity. But remember, it is not your responsibility to shrink so that others can feel big. A powerful exercise is to ask yourself, if no one ever judged me for my successes, what achievements would I pursue openly? The answer often reveals the path to your true satisfaction. Remember, saying no to these 7 requests doesn't make you selfish. It makes you the guardian of your own well-being. You are the architect of your existence, and every boundary you set is a pillar that supports the temple of your inner peace. As poet Antonio Machado said, "Your truth is not the truth. Come with me and let's search for it. Yours, keep to yourself." If you've made it this far, write "First my well-being" in the comments so I know who the true champions are who made it to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content like this in the future. Lastly, if you value my work and want to support me, you can become an exclusive member of the channel and get my new ebook. I'll leave the links in the pinned comment. A big hug, and I'll see you in the next video.